My name is Ekaite Judith Umo. I am from Nigeria. I work at FASIP Disability Plus, an NGO that seeks to promote the inclusion of disabled women in all gender and development programs in Nigeria. We are implementing a project to address the disability gaps in the GBV and COVID response. So, we brought together actors both from the demand and the supply side to conduct a one-day workshop to develop guidelines for the inclusion of disabled women in GBV and COVID interventions. The workshop brought together mainstream women's organizations, CSOs, the media, government, community-based organizations to formulate strategies for disability inclusion. The guidelines developed are meant to help government actors, development agencies, disabled women's organizations, mainstream women's rights organizations, GBV service providers, and sexual assault referral centers to ensure the inclusion of disabled women in all GBV responses. During the workshop, we also launched the GBV Monitoring and Advocacy Partnership MAP network, which comprised of all relevant stakeholders. The GBV MAP network has facilitated strategic partnership between disabled women and non-disabled women's organizations on advocacy and monitoring on inclusive GBV interventions. Through the GBV MAP network, a few disabled women has been identified connected to services for GBV psychosocial support and post-COVID economic recovery interventions for women. We call on donor agencies to collaborate more closely with organizations of disabled women by setting up specific grants targeted at institutional strengthening to enable us build strong systems and structure for the sustainability of our organizations and our works on GBV and other cross-cutting thematic areas on gender and disability.
Hello, I am Mose Darlene Francois from Haiti, representative of a local organization of women with disabilities, Fibers. I am proud to stand alongside these strong young women with disabilities who dedicate themselves to the meaningful representation and full participation of people with disabilities, particularly women with disabilities at all levels of social, political, and economic life. The implementation of this specific project gives us the opportunity to intervene at a critical moment in favor of a population in need. One of the activities that I'm always happy to talk about is the virtual campaign on gender-based violence, where we have raised awareness and informed response structures on how they can make their services accessible. Indeed, people with disabilities are at greater risk of violence, particularly when they are isolated, and they face higher rates of gender-based sexual domestic violence. Although there is currently no data on disability and gender-based violence in Haiti, experience shows that in similar circumstances, women with disabilities are particularly at risk. In Haiti, 76% of people who are victims of violence do not file a complaint. Access to services and information issues make the situation even more difficult for women living with disabilities. Thus, we have developed and published for response structures posters with key recommendations such as adding a ramp, putting hand-washing points where anyone can reach, signage, have messaging lines, use of several communication formats, etc. More than 8,000 people have been reached by these messages. Members of the organization will gain confidence in their roles as agent of change. New people recognize Fiber's commitment. CSO leaders have realized that with small adaptations, we can help improve someone's living conditions. This is how I invite the organizations present here to get more involved by supporting in the calls for proposals the cost relating to small adaptations such as portable ramps, signage, handrails, in order to make buildings or services accessible to women with disabilities.
Hi, I'm Emila Guedes from Brazil. I speak from a country with more than 200 million people with different regional realities. However, gender based violence against women with and without disabilities occurs through the whole country. With the beginning of activities, the theme has come out of invisibility, gained strength in social networks, and reached the great media. Our actions were focused on meetings for involvement, awareness, and guidance of healthcare, social assistants, and public security professionals, as well as civil society organizations and movements of women with and without disabilities. We chose to create a network that could develop by itself to increase its power and reach in this difficult pandemic situation. We were able to sensitize, and most participants showed interest in learning more. To continue this mobilization effort, we need support and funding so that new actions can be accomplished from spontaneous partnerships among the network members. Our goal now is to qualify the professionals who serve victims of violence and mainly to encourage leadership among women with disabilities. We hope they become seeds and act as multipliers in their communities, increasing the visibility of suffered violence and improving access to protection services. This network we are building is innovative and pioneering. It is a powerful tool for fighting violence against women with disabilities. We need support.
I bring you greetings from Sierra Leone. I'm Ramatu Princess Kanu, the Executive Director for Women with Disability Yearning for Equal Opportunities, WODIO. WODIO is a women-led organization focuses mainly on women with disabilities. We operate at national level. MAISA project implemented in 6 districts, namely Potloko, Makeni, Moyamba, Bo, Kenema, and Freetown. The most powerful activity implemented in this project is the interface meetings, wherein we bring together different community stakeholders, service providers on GVB, DTBRs, enforcement bodies, and civil society organizations to discuss their working relationship with organization of persons with disabilities and services offered to persons with disabilities. At the end of each meeting at each district, women with disability are well informed on GVB referral pathways, and as well service providers committed in handling issues of women with disability around GVB with urgency. Also, a WhatsApp group is created for further discussion on GVB complaint mechanisms, services, and referral pathways. Another powerful activity is the training workshop on GVB and disability legal instruments. During the training, so many confessions was made by the service providers as to the rights and privileges provided in the Persons with Disability Act 2011,
and how to handle persons with disabilities, which was not too clear to them. The same confession was also made to persons with disabilities on the GVB laws, because most leaders of the disability communities are unaware of these laws and referral procedures. The interface meetings and training workshop has increased awareness and sensitization among service providers and women with disabilities. Confidence brought to organization of persons with disabilities and persons with disabilities to report cases on GVB, as well as stakeholders making commitments and signing agreements with women-led organizations for support, collaborate, and continuous partnership. It came out clear that short interface meeting and training workshop is important and really necessary. WODIO is calling on international organizations to keep empowered and give capacity building to women-led organizations and work with women-led organizations directly. Because in disability we believe in nothing about us without us, and who feels it knows it. When women with disability are given enough capacity, support and trust, they are unstoppable force for positive change. Women with disability taking the front seat. Thank you.
I'm Manik from Sri Lanka, Manager, Specialized Training and Disability Resource Center of the Employers Federation of Ceylon. We have implemented the project on mobilizing women leaders with disabilities for inclusive responses to gender-based violence during COVID-19 pandemic in all 9 provinces in Sri Lanka and 1 national level program. We have trained 101 training of trainers, that is TOTs, which included women with disabilities, women with non-disabilities, men with disabilities and men with non-disabilities in the grassroots level so that they can train their own community. We created a support network with more than 80 different organizations in Sri Lanka. The Best Buddy system had a huge impact on women with disabilities, where we assigned a woman with a non-disability or a friend or a companion or a colleague to support women with disabilities during pandemics or emergency situations in the future. The Be Safe mobile app provides information in accessible formats and where to seek for services and support on GBV and on women-specific issues. I would like to request international development agencies to have faith in women with disabilities in the very grassroots level. They do not have the capacity or the knowledge in English language to communicate with international development agencies. Therefore, you can provide grants for organizations in the grassroots level through larger organizations like us to build capacity of women with disabilities and empower them. Women with disabilities in the very grassroots level, when they are empowered, they will be good or even better than women with non-disabilities. I know because I have been there. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dulamsaran Jigjit. I am the Executive Director of the Culture Center of the Deaf in Mongolia. Our work focuses more on deaf people, but our projects for girls and women with disabilities run nationwide. Mongolia is doing good work in reducing gender-based violence, but the inclusion of women with disabilities is not good enough. Therefore, we decided to develop a handbook that would provide general guidelines for organizations, those working for gender equality. This handbook has been produced by women with disabilities. It contains, first, ways to change the organization's management. Second, ways to change its programs. Third, ways to change its culture. And fourth, ways to change strategic planning, so as to include women with disabilities in all those areas. It also includes information about how to communicate with women with disabilities, as the communication needs are different for the deaf, blind, and physically disabled. In addition to these areas, it also includes ways to deliver information in a more accessible way. This book contains information on all these areas and is published for the benefit of everyone. Organizations may feel that it is not necessary to change their culture to include women with disabilities, but we all think it's vital. If organizations can change their culture to include women with disabilities, they can be more open and flexible in welcoming them in their workplaces. My suggestion to those who want to know how to change their culture, you can contact women with disabilities and get their guidance and involvement. Women with disabilities can teach organizations how they can support and focus on women with disabilities. Women with disabilities are highly experienced. They are very important. I hope you will all be more cooperative with women with disabilities in your field. Thank you.